Hi guys, Electrostats here with a bit of a different video. During today's video, I will be analyzing some replays and giving you kind of my own perspective of what I'm looking for whenever I analyze some replays, and maybe give some useful information or useful tips to improve at the game. The first replay I'll be analyzing is, in my opinion, one of the best score ever set in ranked maps. This replay was set by the one and only Garsh, and it is his 97 on Berserkerz Expert Plus. So without further ado, let's watch the replay and do some analysis. I mean, already we can notice some stuff that are pretty interesting. As we know, Garsh is actually playing on the Valve Index, which means he's using the Valve Knuckle controllers, and these are actually pretty heavy. And we can actually see this by the way he's actually swinging. So whenever you're gonna use lighter controllers, your swings are gonna be a lot more like snappy, which means they're gonna accelerate faster. We can see here that Garsh is actually fairly relaxed whenever he's playing. So this is kind of a trait of playing on the Index. Also, it wouldn't be an Electrostats review without mentioning controller settings. He doesn't necessarily have a swing curve. I do notice that there's a slight inward curve on his left hand. His right hand seems to be pretty straight. His positioning is actually very off. His position Y seems to be extremely low. We can see this by looking at the bottom right camera. If you take a look at the way the hilt is moving, you're gonna notice it's rotating around the center of rotation that is way above the controller. By actually increasing his position Y, he would have a controller that is a lot more centered, and it might actually be easier for him to full swing. One thing that I notice is the way his right hand and his left hand is actually positioned. Garsh's right hand is pretty lined up with the middle row nodes. But if we take a look at his left hand, we can see it's a lot more to the left. So whenever Garsh is actually swinging for those middle row nodes, he's actually swinging at a slight angle with his left hand. We can see that using the bottom left camera or the ortho view cam. We can also see that that same left hand is doing a lot more repositioning than his right hand. We can see his left hand moving quite a lot compared to his right hand. That repositioning is not necessarily bad. It's just kind of two different ways of swinging at the nodes. To swing for outer lane nodes, there's two different things you can do. One, you can circle, point your wrist more to the left, or point your wrist more to the right to actually hit those outer lane nodes. Using that technique will actually increase your timing dependence on those outer lane nodes. This technique is required to hit some of the outer lane patterns, such as stacks or towers. The other technique that you can use, by rotating your wrist a little bit on itself, you can actually change the angle of your swing. By doing that, it's possible for you to hit some of the outer lane nodes without having to point your wrist to the right by simply hitting them in a diagonal way. We can see him using both techniques very precisely. Whenever there's outer lane stacks, he will circle a lot more, but whenever he is hitting jumps, he will only rotate his wrist to get the proper angle. On that section right here, this is exactly what we saw. We saw Garsh doing little circles to actually hit those outer lane stacks and then coming back to the middle lane nodes. Very interesting here. So obviously this is a much faster part, but he did get really good accuracy on this section. What I really like about Garsh's swing is that he stays so relaxed whenever he's hitting those faster sections. Even if the song sounds more intense, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to swing harder. It is very important that in your mind, you actually disconnect what the song sounds like and the speed of the song itself. If there's no tempo or BPM changes, then technically you should be swinging exactly the same way. You shouldn't be swinging harder. And this is exactly what Garsh is doing. He's gonna swing as slowly as possible, and he's gonna swing the bare minimum, making sure he's not overswinging too much to save as much stamina and keep as much control on his swing as possible. Really good section right here, especially considering he didn't pause before that section. I'm very impressed by the stamina here, especially on the index. Really strong section right here, barely moving in accuracy. There is no drop whatsoever. He keeps control of his saber once again. And like I said earlier, even though the section sounds so intense, Garsh managed to keep his swing super smooth, very controlled, and keep the same accuracy that he's had before. So I know the ending of this map is a lot more stamina intensive, and there's also some pretty hard to accuracy pattern, especially like slider spam. So we'll see how he actually does on those. So very interesting. One thing we noticed at the end was that on the outer lane sliders, there was a bit of underswing. It's due to the controller being pointed slightly too much downward, and having them pointed a little more upward would actually prevent the underswing. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the replay analysis, and I also hope that you did learn something. Feel free to leave a comment below with a replay that you'd like me to analyze. On that note, I'll see you next time guys. Peace!